All right, in studio right now, she's running for the 101st Assembly District seat. I say running, you're on two lines currently, but since the primary, am I correct in saying you're not actively campaigning?
That's correct.
And part of that reason, if you could explain, is that you're a county chair.
I'm the Delaware County Republican chairwoman, and that's a role that I take very seriously. And so when I didn't win the primary, the first thing I did is take the stance that I'm gonna support the entire Republican line, national, state, and local.
Got it.
And so I've done press releases. I relinquished any kind of meeting I had or forum with candidates. I wrote to everybody and let them know that I would not be attending, simply because it's customary to run on several lines before a primary in order to secure the votes on the November ballot.
Right.
So I did run on both the Reform and Conservative line. But because I am the Delaware County Republican chairwoman, I will rise to the occasion and support my Republicans.
All right, and Brian Miller is the Republican that won the primary, and that's where that
correct.
whole thing comes into
That is
play.
correct.
Okay, so what since the primary, what have you been doing? You're basically supporting the party. What are the things that you've been doing since then?
Well, I take an active role in my community, and so I've been helping our local candidates, like Wendy Long running for U.S. Senate, John Faso running in the 19th Congressional District, which is my district in Delaware County, our local DA running, just things like that, meet and greets, helping out with meet and greets, maybe sponsoring them. And then, of course, I do golf tournaments, for charity. I recently did one in Hancock, and it was for two families. And so I had the opportunity and pleasure, and I'm going to say pleasure, to golf on the same team with an 89-year-old man who had just lost his wife to Alzheimer's. And, this man was just incredible for 89 years old. And so, he had the day of his life because we joked and laughed all day. I don't take golf as serious as other people do. I do it for the charity. I do it for the fun of it and just have a ball. And yeah, did I get a couple good hits? Of course.
Are you good?
I'm okay.
Okay.
I wouldn't say good.
Because I don't take it seriously because I'm so bad. So I just try not to take it too seriously. Okay, so that would be a positive aspect of what you experienced on the campaign trail.
Absolutely.
What about negative? Did you? This has been a tough run here this year.
It was a tough run. I had an absolute ball out there with every single person that I came in contact with. I engaged with everybody, and it just, my personality comes out. I'm just that kind of person. I'm not afraid to walk up to somebody and just create a conversation. Even in the grocery store, I talk to everybody in line, and the negative out of that was, and it's quite disheartening, I spent the last 2 years working for the New York State Assembly, a job in which I just loved.
Yeah.
And I poured my heart and soul in it because the people need that. The people need that representation. Even though I was just a legislative aide, I was on the front lines all the time. And to hear disparaging things being said about me that were not true, and I've literally given you documentation. It was
you
said
handed
that
me a lot of stuff here.
Yes, I did. And if I'm going to make a statement, I'm going to have documentation to back it up.
All right.
I was at a parade in West Winfield, and I had been marching with the detached unit, Marine Corps unit from New Hartford. And the Marine Corps is very near and dear to me because my brother was a 20-year vet. He went at age 17, came out at age 37, and so that's very near and dear to me. My son was in the 82nd Airborne. My other son, I put through military school. My uncle served 36 years in the Army. Congressman Gibson, in which I really adore that man because of his service. And right now, I just want to put it out there. Thank you to every single veteran out there who served.
And Veterans Day coming up soon.
It is.
Yeah, next
Veterans Day. And so I'm going to try to make this real brief. So after the parade, there was a little carnival, and I sat with all the Marines, and my opposition came in front of me with the current member. And so I just excused myself so they could visit in private.
For the current member, which is the current assembly member?
Yes.
Claudia Tenney.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I went to get my dinner, and then I came back, and my campaign manager said to me, he says, you should tell Maria. I said, tell me what? They said, we don't want to upset you. I said, just tell me. And they said, well, it was just said that you were fired and you were being investigated by the New York State Assembly for ethics violations. I said, well, I can tell you that's not true. And it wasn't true, and it's still not true. And so...
who said that? Who said that?
One of the Marine members told me what was said.
Who told them? Who's the one that said that about you?
The current member.
Claudia Tenney.
And
Which is who you worked for.
Correct.
Right.
So she said that she had fired you and you were being investigated.
Yes. And so they said, what are you going to do? I said, well, first of all, I'm going to compose myself because I'm going to do this eloquently. I'm going to go up to the member, ask her to come on the side, and I'm going to question her and ask her why she would say such deplorable, despicable things about me. And when I asked her, she denied it. And what really floored me is, how could you say that Marines would lie? That's what floored me. Long story short, you know.
She said that they lied to you about that?
Yes. And then I went back and I told them what they said, and they said, really? And so we're just going to get beyond that. And I'm just going to say the next Monday, I went up to Albany. And I wrote a letter to personnel and administration asking them for the reasoning on my employee record of my departure from the assembly. And she said, you already know. And I said, I need it in writing. And then she asked me why, and I told her the story. She went, okay, we'll do it right now. And so
you're now trying to protect your reputation
absolutely.
At this point.
You know, I have to tell you, Bill.
And it's not even about a campaign at that point.
It's not about a campaign.
Yeah.
It's not about a campaign. You know, my dad and my family, my dad always said to me, you're born with one thing in life, and that is your name. Mm-hmm. And it's how you live your life that reflects the reputation that your name will have. And I've always been the person to be honest, a person of integrity, loyalty, even with losing the primary. I'm loyal to my party.
Right.
I'm loyal to my title. And so when something like as despicable as that happens and my name is being desecrated, I'm going to defend it.
Were you, I want to ask you, because we've all heard the rumor that that's what happened to you. I hate to say that, but we've all heard the rumor. So and what was said is that you were campaigning while you were supposed to be working for the Assemblywoman. You were actually campaigning on her time. That's what I've heard.
Well, that's a false accusation because I would get to the New York State Assembly long before 9 o'clock. And from the moment I walked in that office until I left, and most of the time it was after 5, I was busy continuously. When you're answering the phones, when you're preparing legislation, when you're faxing, when you're preparing the books in which she needs to go on the floor. And I don't mean just a couple lines. I mean, you get the bill packet, which could be maybe 2 inches thick.
Yeah.
And you're looking up every bill and how she voted for the last 2 years, and you're putting that on a spreadsheet. You have no time for anything but.
Right.
You know, once again, I'm going to tell you, was it ever mentioned? Of course. I'm not going to deny that. Of course it was mentioned. If I ever talked about it, I would leave and go out in a different area. And I mean all the way down.
Right, because there's rules, right? There's supposedly
That's
rules.
right. When it comes to ethics, I'm an ethical person. Mm-hmm. And so, and sometimes I would take between six and 8 meetings a day, like on lobby day. I was the one that took the majority of the meetings, 85 to 90% of the meetings, Claudia's meetings. So to say that I was campaigning, I don't know where I would have
So you were taking, and the Assemblywoman was not in those meetings, that you were representing her in those meetings?
I was representing her in those meetings.
What percentage of that would you say?
Between 80 and 90% of the time.
Wow.
Is that common to have the representative in for the...
It's common for the representative. You generally, when you're making that appointment on the phone, you ask if it's okay to meet with the legislative aide.
Okay.
And they'll say yay or nay. And very, very, very less than more will they say, sure, that's fine.
So as an example, I'm just going to... Utica School needs funding, additional funding. They would say, we want to meet with Assemblywoman Tenney's office. They come up, they actually meet with you. You kind of relay the information, what they're looking for, the problem that they might have.
Correct. You would walk in, and I would be taking the meeting, and as soon as we got in the meeting, of course, I'd say hello, and everybody would make the introductions, and then I would ask for your legislative agenda. And it could be maybe 4 or 5 pages long. But I had it down to a science where I could just listen to them and just highlight key areas.
Sure.
That I could literally portray this to the member.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and that is common, or do you think you were doing that more than you should have been,
did.
I guess.
I think I did it a lot more. Yes.
Okay.
Because I was not, there were two people campaigning, running for office. I'm not going to say campaigning, running for office. And so I was the one holding, I was the glue holding all that together.
You're saying two people, you and her.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And why would, if this didn't happen, why would Claudia Tenney come out and say these things about you? Did you have a good relationship prior to that?
Yes.
Good reviews prior to that?
Very good. Very good.
So why would she do that?
I'm a matter-of-fact person. I'm a person of detail. I'm a person that I don't get all caught up in gossip. I just don't have time for that. My time is spent on positive and just positive energy for positive results. And so in the very beginning, when I was going to make my announcement, I sat down with her and I said, listen, I'm going to make my announcement. What are you going to be doing? Are you going to fall back on it? I have to know, because if you're going to fall back, we're going to have to discuss this. And she said, no, I'll be making my announcement. And I waited and I waited. And then after I made my announcement, I told her, we talked, and she told me she'd be supporting Brian Miller. And I said, that's all well and good. I said, I'm going to run this campaign as Maria Kelso, the individual, not tied with anybody.
You could see why she would support Brian Miller in her county, Oneida County.
And
probably put a tough position for her. Here's somebody that she works with, she trusts, and now Brian Miller's running. He's from her county. You can understand that.
I understood that, Bill, and I understood. She told me she needed Oneida County's support and backing, which was fine. That's all well and good.
But taking it the next step and saying,
let's fast forward.
Yeah.
And if I would have known any of this would have been out there, I still wouldn't have never negative campaigned. I would have never bashed anybody, because that's not the way I am.
Yeah.
I'm about truth, honesty, and integrity. And I don't give knee-jerk reactions, because that's what could get you in trouble.
Okay, yesterday we were fed some information. I'm assuming it's coming out of the congressional campaigns, but in one case, it's a pamphlet. It's going down to the 430 votes that were missed. If you recall that back during the primary, I'm assuming at that time you were still working.
480.
480.
Yeah.
At that time, you were still working for Ms. Tenney. Mm-hmm. We had an interview on the radio here. I confronted her on a couple of things. We had her placed at the date she said she was taking care of her mother and pulling the plug. We had her in Binghamton campaigning. She said that wasn't true. She disconnected on us and now has come back and said that we disconnected her. Putting that all aside, I was also fed an email that, again, I'm assuming came from a campaign. Can I throw this down to you? I want you to look at that. That's an email that talks about a strategy that Assemblywoman Tenney was looking at along the campaign when she was facing what she knew was going to be some heat over the missing votes, the 480 votes. She talks about a strategy on how to combat the attacks that were coming. Nowhere in there is there any mention of her mom. I'm asking you if you ever saw that email and if you could talk a little bit about that.
Bill, I'm not here to slam anybody, and I'm not here to I just don't want people out there to think that this is some kind of revenge thing, because it's not.
I understand that.
The facts are in the pudding. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Would you say that's authentic?
It's very authentic.
Okay.
It's authentic. And I can tell you, I attended her mother's funeral, and it was a year later or 8 months later.
She said she was caring for her mother at times. I know it's a difficult process. I mentioned that on the air. Is that she was or was not?
Oh, I'm sure she was caring for her mother. Any good daughter would.
But using that as the reason for missing the votes is nowhere to be found in this strategy email.
No. I mean, you said it yesterday on air.
You
where
heard
she
yesterday.
was.
Yeah.
And that's the fact of the matter. I mean, follow the timeline. That's the facts.
You're coming out, as you say, you're not coming out. This is not revenge. It's not your attack on Assemblywoman Tenney. But at the same time, you're coming out. Why? You're coming out to clear your name?
Clear my name. I live life, and I treat people as if I want them to treat me. Even if I have some kind of a malice with somebody, I'm not going to air it. That's between you and I. It's not for the public. And the only thing that I can say is that it's despicable. It's deplorable. I am a deplorable on the Trump train, but nothing else. Nothing.
So you
other
support
than that.
Donald Trump?
Yes, I do. I'm a
ticket.
Republican.
I'm just receiving some messages saying that this, on my part, is a slime tactic against Claudia Tenney. So I want to ask you, how many times have I called you to ask you to come in and do this? And did I have any idea prior? And maybe somebody in here did, but talk about the process of coming on the air. Have I been coercing you to come on the air and dish this out?
Not at all.
All right. I just want that to be... we've been trying to get you on the air, by the way, for a long time. But based on the campaign, in response to Brian Miller was on the air, we wanted to give you your equal time.
Right. And you've always been very fair. I mean,
I
did say this, that you have asked me the tough questions.
I did.
And I know why. Because I can handle them.
Yeah. You, I don't know that you completely trusted me in the beginning. Because I worked on Brian Miller's campaign.
That really doesn't matter. That doesn't matter because I see you as a radio personality. I know you've worked on other campaigns. Mm-hmm. I know you worked on Claudia's for several years.
I did.
I know that didn't end very well.
Probably didn't. It ended well. It's what came after on the radio that turned it sour. So as far as I was concerned, it ended very well. She won every time, and we did well.
I respect the fact that you have to make a living.
That's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely.
And you're trying to preserve your opportunity to make a living, it seems. You want to be able to clear your name.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's it. Like I was telling you, you're born with one thing, your name. And your life ends with your name. And it's how you portrayed your life and how people look at you is what you're all about. And I'm proud of the person that I see in that mirror every morning. I like that woman. I like what she does. I like where she's been. I love where she's going.
It's, 5 days before the election. Let me ask you, why come out now? And do you have a candidate you're supporting in the 22nd district?
Do you know, I've met the other two. Very congeal, very poised people, very intuitive on the issues. Both have good ideas. Fortunately, I'm not in the 22nd district. I'm in the 19th, so I'm supporting John Faso.
You're in a great position. That makes it very easy for you.
It does.
Yeah.
And so if I make no comment,
that's fine.
I think silence speaks louder than words.
All right. Could you reveal could you confirm for us if the question was yesterday and it was denied that during that time in June that Claudia Tenney was campaigning down in Binghamton. Were you with her at that time? Were you back in Albany at that time? Working for a member, I was the staff from January to June in Albany. And then I worked out of the New Hartford office. And so, handling constituent complaints, problems, and problem solving, and everything else that went with it. And was I in the office? Yes. Did I work there? Yes, in New Hartford. And incidentally, I think New Hartford is an extremely important office to maintain and keep, and so is the Southern District. Right.
I just want to throw that out there.
Okay.
And am I aware of that? Yes, I am.
So she was campaigning?
Yes.
And my final question is somebody's asked in, you have not endorsed Brian Miller. Can you talk about that at this point?
That's not the truth.
Okay.
It's right in front of you. A press release that went out to the Daily Star. Right in front of you, I wrote to all the county chairs that I support and endorse all the Republican candidates. So that's not true. Anything I'm saying, I'm giving you documented proof.
I see it all here.
Only because people will try to refute this.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, you're not. You're in the middle of a race. You're in a difficult position because you're still on the ballot, but you are supporting the Republican ticket. Period.
That is a true statement.
All right. Are you going to regret this today, or you stand up strong and stand for?
I'm a strong woman, and I stand proud.
All right. All right. Good stuff.
And I just want to say that I don't see this as a slime move on your part at all. You know what it is? It's transparency. And that's what you need in the New York State Assembly. You need ethics reform. You need term limits. You need truth and transparency. And I'm here to set the record straight. And I thank you for that opportunity.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming
I
on.
have one more thing for you.
Okay. Oh, you do. I saw you. We talked about that.
This is for your toy drop. This is my little Willie Moose.
That's awesome.
Look at that.
Yes, I name him. He's got his little sweater on. So
we
there
will,
you go.
we'll do
Thank
that with
you.
the New York Sash Teddy Bear toss that we do with the Utica
Okay.
College hockey games. Maria, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.